Hi everyone, we'll be beginning the writing webinar today. And Manas, you can take the floor if you would like to present now.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Harsh. Thank you. Okay. Good morning, everyone. All right, I'll be presenting. I hope you can see my screen. Yeah. Okay. So today we will be talking about how to write a compelling essay. Yesterday we listened to Sarah and how she navigated us through the creative aspects of writing an essay using rhetorics and everything. Today I will be diving into the technical aspect on how to write an essay. We'll learn about setting up the key points in the essay, giving a strong thesis in your essay, and mainly structuring and using transitions. Then I'll also talk about how to write the first draft and in the end the proofreading. So the entire writing aspect of the essay we will discuss today. Uh, yeah. Okay. So firstly, setting up the key points in your essay. What does that mean? So setting up the key points in your essay, the reasons you need to set up key points, because you've once you have fully understood the prompts that we talked about yesterday. Prompts are the main keywords in a topic. So sticking to yesterday's theme, if you have understood the prompts, the main key terms in the essay, then you shall start setting up the key points which we will stick to complete our essay. Now, creating or listing a few points will help you in maintaining coherence and editing your mistakes if you falter somewhere in the essay ahead. All right. So once you have an entire list of what you need to write about, or what you will mention about, then it is really hard to go off topic, because there is always because you can always refer back to what your key points were, and you will stick to that. Our mind is great at listing things and then remembering those lists. So that's a great thing about listing, that you'll remember it, and you'll make your key points when your mind is fresh. Writing an essay is exhausting. Writing a 1500 2000 word essay is exhausting. That's why once you reach to the middle portion, the body paragraphs of your essay, your mind starts to wander and you start to go somewhere else which is not related to the topic. But listing and key points bring you back to the topic and make you stay at that topic. So it is basically like a cheat code. In It helps you create a roadmap for your essay from the beginning. If I already know what I'm going to write about from the start to the end, then there is very little chance that I'll forget something to add. I'll go off topic. I'll rarely go off topic. If and I'll stick to the word limit, because I know I need to complete all of these in a specific word limit. Moving on. Uh, yeah, how to set up the key points. Make sure you to keep in mind the prompts that you have created for yourself, as you need to define and answer them in your essay. Once again, talking from yesterday's point of view, prompts are the key phrases or the key words in a topic. So you need to keep them in mind. You need to explain them. You need to define them and create questions out of them that you need to answer. Or if the essay is more simplified and a question is given in your topic, then answer that question straight away, and it shouldn't be a problem. Keep your key points short, as you don't have a lot of time to write an essay. All of your key points should be 1 or 2 liners. Now, please do not like spend half an hour or 45 minutes just writing the key points. It's not worth it. Write 10 or 15 key points, 2 liners each, 2 to 3 liners, and maybe take like 10 to 15 minutes at the maximum. Be sure not to take more than 15 minutes on key points, because you will not have any time to complete your essay. make sure to write them on a separate sheet and keep it alongside you, in front of you, so that whilst you're writing, you can see what your points were and you can tick them off as you complete each point. Alongside the key points, write the keywords or some technical phrases that are important. So while you're researching, you find some technical phrases, a specific number or a specific stat, or a word that you really like, or something that goes for the topic. Write that keyword on the side and just point an arrow to it where you will use it, so that you can use that specific word in that key point, and so that you can add that to your essay. Once again, do not spend more than 10 to 15 minutes on the key points. Now, coming to giving a strong thesis. Now, the argument is the most crucial part of your essay. Thesis basically means the meat and potatoes of the essay, the argument. How to give a good argument. Be clear in your stance. Explain the other argument to strengthen your own argument. You should be able to describe your thesis in one line. Sometimes what happens is some people are not confident in their own thesis. So once you go to ask them, what was your essay about, or what was your main stance about, or what was your thesis about, they take like 15-20 minutes just to explain what their thesis was, because they themselves are not clear on what their main argument was about. It should be clear, all right? It should be clear, but it should be nuanced enough that you can write 1,000 to 1,500 words on it easily. Try to keep the argument as layered as possible. Look straight through a shallow thesis. If you just write basic points without mentioning your opinion, or without having any creativity or flair to it, judges will look straight through it. They wouldn't care a bit. So all of that 1,015 words that you wrote took like 45 minutes, 1 hour, is down the drain, because you did not present a good argument. And sometimes this can really affect your essays. So always think about what you will be talking about. Be firm and clear on that stance. Explain the other argument. Surely explain the other argument, but always find out rebuttals whilst you're writing. So if I'm talking about the environment, let's say climate change, and I talk, or changing from climate change, if climate change is not real, like the opposition argument says that the climate change is not real. So I need to give as many examples on how climate change is real and how their argument is falling in front of your eyes. All right. So you need to keep this. You need to keep this as an argument, so that your thesis should be strong enough. And now you should be able to describe your thesis in one line. So it can be my argument or thesis could be described in one line, that climate change is real, and the opposition argument is totally baseless. They have provided facts. That have no backing at all, and have no solid resources at all. It took me one line to explain the entire argument. Once again, nuance is not something that I can teach or I can tell you about. Nuance comes from within. The layering and the subtext on how you add that, it comes from within. Nobody can explain it. It's just a writer's mind and how he goes through it. Structuring the essay. Now, the main part of the entire webinar, structuring the essay, first and foremost, is the introduction. Introduction should be catchy and use interesting vocabulary to lure in readers. Start hinting at your main ideas from the essay. Do not explain them from the get-go. Talk about what you'll talk about in the essay. Do not go ahead and just explain what climate means or what change means and what global warming is and who Greta Thunberg is. No, that is not an introduction. Use the introduction as a welcome notice to your essay. So talk about what you'll write. So for example, the climate change, you can talk about how the climate is affecting our environment and how we'll delve deep into that further in the essay. Use interesting vocabulary. For this, you need to read more books and read more essays and articles. You can, I've seen, especially in WSC, you can take some research help. So you can find some good vocabulary here and there to use, but try not to copy the entire thing because it just becomes plain plagiarism at that point. Moving on, yeah. Introduction, clarity of thoughts should be present. It shouldn't be too long. That shows that you're confused on the topic and you do not know how to transition into the body paragraphs. So there should be a clarity of thought on what you're going to write in the essay from the get-go, and then what you'll write in the body paragraphs and the conclusion paragraphs. And that is easier by using the key points, listing the key points. There shouldn't be a lot of repetition in the intro. I have seen a lot of essays in which people keep repeating what they're talking about. Again and again, they're mentioning the same thing, that we'll talk about this, we'll talk about that, and how this is happening in the world, and this is their example. So it becomes exhausting to read that entire introduction, because a thing that can be completed in 150 to 200 words, you shouldn't take 500 words on that. Try to keep it smaller than the body and conclusion paragraphs. Try because it's just an introduction. Keep it like at maximum 250 words, not more than that. Because if you keep it more than that, then once again, just as I talked about, it's exhausting for the reader. Try to restrict yourself in the information that you're putting in. So do not give your do not throw away your major examples in the introduction. Do not throw away your major resources in the introduction. The introduction should entirely be definitions at the maximum, not more than that. Just introduction of the topic and the definitions. That's it. That's all you need to write a good introduction. After that, moving on. Paragraphs, the first body paragraph, you should use your strongest argument or the most significant example that you have, unless another point, as in the case of a chronological explanation, is required that you started in your introduction. But you need to first and foremost put forth your strongest, the biggest argument that you have. This introduces the reader to your stance on what path you'll be going throughout your essay. This should be in your first body paragraph. In the first body paragraph, develop a good argument for the upcoming body paragraphs. There shouldn't be a confusion in your other body paragraphs and your first body paragraph. There should be a coherency throughout the body paragraph section. Yeah. So the main then whilst you're in the body paragraphs, the first few lines you explain your the entire argument that you have. Then this is where you present your main argument or thesis and you explain it. In the first few lines of the body paragraph, you present it, and when you come down to the middle and you start writing, you start writing more, you explain the main argument. Explaining and presenting are two different things. I can present an argument and then I can explain it. Try to explain both sides of the argument, as we talked about, and then explain the side that you prefer or support. Do not negotiate with the other side that they might be right at this point. No, just explain their point of view, but do not negotiate at it. You need to support your own argument. After that, use valued evidences to prove your point. Use evidences that have a backing. Use resources that are from certified websites or books. Do not quote any opinion pieces. That is the worst thing to do in an essay, because what you are writing is an opinion piece. If you go about and quote an opinion piece from some magazine or internet website, then it negates the entire point of the essay. Using rhetorics and creative talked about yesterday, keep it in a more discussion-based format. Don't be aggressive or assertive until and unless it is necessary. Uh, do, do not go about screaming or writing in all caps so that the judge actually gets scared or thinks that you're taking too much of an assertive stance and becoming too political, in my opinion. So that's why keep it a mellow discussion-based format. It's nothing more than that. It's just an essay. Do not be aggressive or get emotional on that. Moving on, we'll go to the conclusion. Restate your key points once again. Effective conclusions are those which are short and have hard-hitting quotes and have beautifully worded sentences throughout. Once again, don't try to drag your in the intro and the conclusion. I have seen this so many times that people start to drag what they're writing about and what, because in conclusion this happens more than the intro, because in the intro your mind is fresh and you can move on quickly, but in conclusion your mind is exhausted, so you have this luring fear that have I missed something or have I forgotten something. So you keep on writing the same statements again and again, which is a problem. As it elongates your essay, you might reach the word limit by this, but you will bore your judge by this. And in this case, if you start repeating your sentences, just go back to your key points and then move on. Don't introduce new facts or statements in your conclusion. It is not ideal to introduce new facts or statements, as you do not have enough word limit to actually explain the statements or the facts that you're introducing in your conclusion. Then there is no point in introducing them. If you want to go back and write it in your body paragraph, then that's fine enough, but do not introduce anything in the conclusion. Just repeat your key points, restate, not repeat your key points. And your conclusion should be well planned and shouldn't have any incoherent statements. Like in the body paragraph, you're talking about something, and in the conclusion, you take a totally different stance to that example or to that thing. Moving on, we'll talk about using transitions. Transitions are a key in good essays, as they create this sort of flow state in whilst you're reading. And it becomes really attractive on paper. So when you transition to the next paragraph, it should express what the paragraph will discuss and how it links to the previous paragraph. To smoothly run between paragraphs, you should group your points into themes. This can help you limit the redundant paragraphs that repeat previous paragraphs later in your essay. Find links between the themes and then connect those. Order the paragraphs according to the links between the themes, as it makes it easier to find connecting phrases or words. Example, if one point links best, if point one links best with point three, the paragraph with the point one should be followed by the paragraph with point three, not point two. So try to see which point links best with which point, and then write based off of that, so that your transitions will be easier from the get-go. Transitions either directly summarize the preceding content or implies such a summary by reminding the reader of the preceding content. It also helps the reader anticipate the new points that you want to present in your essay. Talking about how your new paragraph to the previous paragraph can create a layered structure to your arguments, as well as increase complexity of your arguments as a whole, is better. Good transitions explicitly show the connection between points, as it creates a coherent bond between all of your paragraphs and all of your sentences even. And it shows that you were aware throughout the writing process that what you were writing. Because many people go into this flow state where they'll write anything whilst writing an essay, but you need to be aware what you are writing. Transition between paragraphs, you want to take on an unconventional stance about a certain issue. You could set up your paragraphs as such. Paragraph A, the conventional stance about the issue you're writing about. transition for the paragraph B despite the arguments above, and then you start your paragraph B. The unconventional stance, which is your stance in this case about the issue, and you should agree with the or prefer stance, and you stick to it. You should write about the first key point of your argument, and then notice how the transition links back to the previous paragraph but sets up the new argument for the next paragraph. And that is how transitions work between paragraphs. Some transitional expressions that you can take a screenshot of this if you want. Sometimes you may find it hard to come up with an effective transition. This is where transitional expressions come in. So logical relationship, if you need to present similarity, use also, likewise, similarly, etc. words like that. If you need to show contrast, use words like however, on the other hand, nonetheless, on the contrary. If you need to show an order or a sequence, firstly, secondly, thirdly, or first, second, third, next, then finally, use that. If you need to state time, before, currently, immediately, later, meanwhile, now, recently, subsequently, etc., etc. Examples, if you need to state some examples, for instance, for example, to illustrate, if you need to put emphasis or assert something, then use words like even, indeed, in fact, of course, truly. If you need to show cause or effect, use words like accordingly, consequently, hence, so, therefore, and thus. And finally, then we have the last 2 points. If you need to put in additional support or evidence, then furthermore, again, in addition to, moreover, to add on, additionally, you can use these words. And finally, for conclusion, you can use finally, briefly, in conclusion, to conclude, to summarize, to sum up, as these transitional expressions. You can take a screenshot if you want, because it will help you further. It's basic vocabulary. Yeah, moving on. All right, using powerful vocabulary. Using powerful vocabulary, find new words while you're researching a topic. Find the words that attract you the most, and then find lines that those words are placed in. So you will understand the context whilst understanding the word. Try to use catchy lines which attract the eyes. Try to use alliterations and metaphors. If we use a lot of literary devices in our essays, it gives this poetic tone which is very appealing to our human brain, which enhances the nuance and the underlying tone of your essay, which gives a very uh, beautiful narrative to your entire essay. Read more for preparation. If you're going for an essay competition or any writing competition for that matter, always a night before, read as many books as you can, read as many articles as you can, or essays, or any written content. If you do not have the topic beforehand, then you should read books just for the vocabulary, articles and essays and any written content. And in general in life, read more, read as much as you can. Uh, if you if you prefer to watch movies, or watch something on YouTube, turn on the subtitles, read the subtitles whilst you're watching the video, so that you can maybe get some new words and phrases. Because spoken words, if my vocabulary is great and I'm just speaking to you, you might like the word that I'm speaking, but you do not know in what context I'm speaking, or how did I use that word, or how it will be used when you use it. So that's why when once our brain sees something in written, a written phrase, then it can comprehend the context much better. That's why subtitles are great for English preparation and boosting your vocabulary. So read more books, articles, or essays, or any written content which will help expand your vocabulary. Uh, Examples of some catchy phrases could be making make a mountain out of a molehill, when the canary keeled over, the coal miners left the cave, neck and neck, menacing sounds of mashing metal machines emanated from the mines. All of these phrases are catchy to the eye because they use a literary device called alliteration. Now, there are so many literary devices we can talk about. Alliteration is basically repeating the first letter of the word in the sentence. Anaphora is repeating the first letter of the word in the vertical position. So if I'm starting a new line, I'll start with the same letter as I started the line before, and that goes on for like three to four sentences, and that is an anaphora. Onomatopoeia is the sounds, is the words that we use for sounds like bam, boom, and these sort of words. Then metaphors are uh, examples or similarities that we find in life. And then similes, using words like or as to create to create to create an example or to give a meaningful example at that. There are imagery can be used so many times. Imagery can be both auditory or visual. Visual imagery includes how you describe a scene, like fields and something. There are so many examples of imagery, visual imagery, and auditory imagery can be what you hear and how it sounds like. If you're talking about concentration camps, so visual imagery and auditory imagery in that essay can be very powerful to use, because you can actually transport the reader on how it feels like to be in that concentration camp about which you're talking. Yeah, so these are some examples. Research more about them. It is great that you use literary devices. Now, writing the first draft. Ernest Hemingway said, the first draft of anything will always be crap. While the truth behind the statement is debatable, drafts are always a good place to start to get any of your bad ideas out of the way. So it is basically like a filter. Once you write everything that is on your mind, all of your bad ideas get filtered and the good ideas remain, and you can sort them out of your bad first draft. It is an advantage. Analyze your mistakes beforehand. Before the judge analyzes your mistakes, you should analyze your mistakes in the first draft. The main outline of the essay should be kept the same, but the approach to the specific concept can be changed or altered in your second or the third draft. Try to rectify even the smallest of mistakes. It can be a spelling mistake, a grammatical error, uh, anything, any smallest, tiniest of the mistakes you can take out in the first draft. Your first draft will always give you an insight on your thoughts, which are beneficial for your future drafts. So it will always show what your writing process, what your thought process was while you were writing. So once you understand that, then your future drafts will be much easier for you, as you can use your previous experience to not make the same mistakes again. But if you know that you're writing your first draft, do not get complacent on writing the first time. Because if you think that my first draft is anyways going to be bad, why should I make any effort at all? Do not do that. Write your first draft as you're writing your last, as this is the one that you will submit. Your first draft should be powerful to you. uh, it doesn't matter that it comes out bad or good. It matters that you tried for the first time, and then you try again and try again and try again. Writing is a process. It cannot be done in one sitting. You need to do a lot of things beforehand and after your essay is completed. uh, Also, I like to mention one thing. We are talking about the WSE format as a whole. WSE does not allow first drafts. So what you can do is you need to be more aware while you're writing your essay, and you where you can use your first draft is while writing your key points, because your key points will remain to you. So the first draft of your key points, you might not like something, or there might be something that you disagree with. So you can rectify them in the complete essay. So WSE does not allow first drafts, but I thought you should know what first drafts are and why they are important in traditional essays, not just in WSE. Proofreading. Proofreading is the last step to a good essay. If you cannot use first drafts, then proofreading is a great alternative. And even if you can use first drafts, always proofread before submitting, because correcting the first draft is important, but a final proofread is where you figure out all the spelling mistakes and other miscellaneous issues. Try to thoroughly proofread your essays. Proofreading isn't reading your essay. Proofreading is analyzing each and every word of it, taking at least 10 to 15 minutes every time you go through it. uh, you should try to proofread your essay 2 to 3 times before submission. While proofreading, try to only change the minor mistakes in the essay, like spelling issues, grammatical issues, miscellaneous issues uh, that bother some things here and there. But do not go ahead and change the entire point or concept or the stance of the essay, because a lot of times this happens. People are, by the end of the essay, people are conflicted by the stance that they took. So then they need to go back and change. And once they have completed the entire essay and they're revising it or proofreading it, they still want to go back to that specific stance and change it, which I think is foolish, because uh, if you're not confident, then the judge wouldn't also like your essay. So be confident in what you're writing. Just go ahead. Uh, you'll see how it turns out. There's nothing that you can do now. After that, so thank you so much for joining. Arsh will be taking over now. I'll be stopping the screen share. I hope you enjoyed. I hope I didn't bore you at all. Thank you so much. Arsh, you can please take the stage.
Thanks, Manus. That was a great informative presentation. If you have any other questions or that Manus can answer for you, you may put it on the chat now, or you can just speak up if you like. Anyone? Yeah, Gauri.
Okay, Manas. It was. Please ask your question.
Oh, okay. So during the explanation of the structure part, I heard you say that presenting an argument and explaining an argument are two different things. So can you please explain why they're different and how I can, differentiate between them?
Could you please repeat your question? Your voice broke. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, okay. Can you hear me now?
If you can type it in the chat, that would be better.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll answer that there. Till then, if anyone has any other questions, please, Harsh.
Yeah, sure. Anyone, whoever can speak up, type in the text chat box. No need to raise your hand. It's fine.
I guess I explained quite well.
Yeah.
Could you explain the difference between presenting and explaining an argument? All right. So presenting an argument basically means that you present your thoughts. So presenting means introduce them. You basically state what you'll talk about, like in the introduction or in the first body paragraph. Whilst explaining your argument is going through going the entire thing and talking about the meat and potatoes and how the nitty-gritties and the stats and the resources that you have used and the entire pile up of information that you have, putting that in the explaining part. Presenting is just beautifully showing that what you talk about in beautifully worded phrases and very nicely used using transitions, while explaining is the nitty-gritty of the essay and going deep into a certain topic or a certain fact. I hope I made that clear.
Yeah, you did. Any other questions? There's some great comments for you, Manus, in the chat box, if you would like to read that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the useful ideas. The presentation really sums up numerous important things in one go. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah.
If there are no questions, you guys may leave now. Before that, Manas, could you screen
Yeah.
share? We would like to
Yeah,
request for
I'll
your
just,
feedback. There's a form attached. Next slide, Manas. You can
yeah,
visit bit.ly/1P writing webinar feedback. This will really help us improve our events, and your voices will be heard. So if you could give us meaningful feedback, that would be great for all of us. That's it.
right. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Yeah, namaskar. You all can leave now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.